This video is brought to you by Carcajou Tactical and Grey Fox Strategic. For 10% off your next purchase with Grey Fox Strategic, use code DA10.
In front of us, what we're going to talk about is the DA blade. So the DA blade, the fixed blade variant that we see now moving forward, was a couple of years into the works before we got it to where we are right now. So partnered up with Karim at KD Blades. So he is the official blade builder. I am the design behind the build, and then the sheaths are made by Grey Fox Strategic. So this is a 100% Canadian collaboration with KD Blades doing the build, myself with design, and Grey Fox Strategic with the ambidextrous sheath. So what you'll see in front of you here is what the package looks like. So each package, whether the customer wants a black one, a multicam black, Ranger green, or tan, we also have standard multicam as well. But this is essentially what the package would look like, where each blade package has a trainer blade and then a deep carried sheath. So we'll just talk about the deep carried sheath for a second. So the way that the deep carried sheath is designed is to be set farther in on the person. So whether that's in your pocket or in a appendix carry, for example, the clip is meant and designed to grab onto any material. So it doesn't have to go onto a belt. It can go onto board shorts. It could go onto your underwear if that's all you chose to wear. But the idea is it would sit a little bit deeper. And then they are left or right-handed depending on how we draw the blade. So the way that the blade is built, which I'm going to talk about in a second, it will have a factor on what way you set the blade into this deep carried sheath, where what's a little bit different between the standard sheath, which I'm holding in my hand now, and the deep carry is the standard sheath is designed to be completely ambidextrous. So whether we stow the blade with the tang facing left or with the tang facing right, the blade will be accepted into the same sheath. So the idea behind this, which a lot of thought went into, is what was the main purpose of the blade? Why would we use it? You know, a utility blade, everyday use, whether it's from a combat role, operational role. I want to give users the opportunity to decide based on the sheath and the orientation of the blade as they drew it, whether or not the individual is a forward grip person, somebody that prefers to draw the blade in a forward grip posture or a reverse grip posture, totally up to them. But the design behind it was to give flexibility in the draw. So each blade package would look like this: training blade, deep carried sheath, which can be accepted both live and training blade, and then the color of choice. So when we look at the live blade, just to talk about some of the details. So is double edge cutting surface, so cutting surface on both the top bevel and the bottom bevel. And the blade right now is currently made out of Nitro V stainless steel. We are looking to source a different steel for future products, but the quality will remain the same. The scales are G10 material, which means, you know, it's strong, it's durable, resilient to corrosion, abrasion, and they can be replaced. So if one were to break, or, you know, after so many uses, you wanted to upgrade them and have the grip, you know, refurbished, for example, you could do that, or swap them out with a different color. You can do that as well. Now, the design behind the blade, we did first prototype, made a couple of changes based on the weight and the thickness, made a second prototype, made a couple of changes with the jimping. So the jimping is essentially the grip that you see on the spine of the blade, and then as well as the grip that we put on the G10 material and the handles at the tang or the butt of the blade. So after the third attempt, we made this the standardized version, and this will be what's moving forward for the standard direct action fixed blade. So thought in behind this, whether or not the individual is going to carry this in a deep carry manner. So picture the job, the detail, law enforcement, military, whatever it might be, or everyday use for the general public and civilian population. We'll have a variety of different reasons why you're carrying a blade, but the idea behind this. Picture we're carrying a platform of edge weapon as a form of either protection or just everyday use, but in the line of profession, there could be an opportunity or a potential where we're also carrying a pistol. So picture the scenario. So platform is clean and clear, but picture we have the platform on us, and we also have the edge weapon on us. So maybe it's in a pocket, it's in appendix carry, whatever it might be. And if the user chose to draw the blade for a very specific reason and desired effect, but in the situation and in the environment, a ballistic response was probably the more optimal choice without discarding the blade. The idea behind transferring the firearm to the edge weapon into our support hand so we can access the firearm, the tang was thought about in a manner where we don't need to commit to a loop. So some blades you see with a fixed loop for some of these purposes. I didn't want the loop because I didn't want that thing to be an added step to have to think about in order to consider keeping the blade. Where we transfer the firearm, the idea behind this is now the firearm is in the master hand, and this is the one that we need for the desired effect. The blade can still stay connected to our support hand. So the tang, if you notice the way that it's resting on the index finger and middle finger help control the gun. So when we marry up the two hands, we still have support with our support hand thumb onto the frame of the gun so we can still shoot and be effective without losing a purchase, which we have with the baby finger and ring finger onto the blade. So the idea behind this is while shooting, we can still reload magazines. So picture, this is in my magazine carrier with the orientation of the blade being outward. So we're not running the risk of hurting ourselves or cutting ourselves, and we can still function the gun. So without discarding the blade or throwing it on the ground, now we still have two tools that are connected to us that we could use based on the environment, based on the context of why we're doing what we're doing. And this would still enable us to manipulate the gun if we had stoppages, whatever it might be, without throwing the gun in one hand, or managing the gun with one hand and maybe potentially discarding the blade in the other. So a lot of thought went into the design behind the blade, the weight, the size. People ask me about the length of the blade. You know, it seems a little bit small. I mean, it's bigger is not always better, as sometimes people say, but my thought is, well, what length was optimal length? If I'm being serious and thinking about using this for self-preservation, protection of others, or, you know, to get some savage, you know, out of my personal space, it's long enough to do a serious amount of damage. If we were, for an example, to think about jamming this in between, you know, the second and third intercostal, you know, is it long enough to penetrate and potentially hit something vital inside the heart cavity? Maybe. So was that a thought? I'd be lying if I said it wasn't. Long enough to do damage either on the way in or on the way out. Both cutting edge surfaces gives some benefits to how we use this blade. And the reality is, if you're not in the profession where this is even a consideration, then this blade gives you something as a utility tool for everyday use. So you want to cut open your Amazon packages, or you want to open up an envelope, the blade is going to give you the desired effect. So a lot of thought went into it. The idea behind the package setup like this as it's sold is, it's one thing to have a blade, it's one thing to think about using it, whether for profession, whatever your profession is, or everyday use and personal protection. I'll caution you on, know the laws of the area that you're thinking about, the considerations where this might be used, know what you can and cannot do, and also know how to use it, know how to draw it, know how to put it in your hand, know how to control it. Therefore, the training blade is designed to give you that opportunity to train with a training blade with less risk, mitigating the risks of hurting yourself or others while you're training. So if you're serious about stuff like this and you're going to consider it for everyday use, know the rules, know the laws, what you can and cannot do, know how to explain yourself if you're carrying a blade, for what purposes, everyday use, cutting open Amazon boxes, and maybe cutting rope is very different than self-defense, especially in Canada. So just know what you can and cannot do. If you're serious about something like this, it is an investment for sure. The training blade is part of the package. Therefore, you can be better prepared should you ever have to use it on the day. While I was operating at my, former previous place of employment, we got issued a lot of different blades. Like larger bushcraft blades that would be good for the green, folding blades, a variety of different fixed blades. And every blade that was issued to us, I found kind of an issue with them, either too big or too small or too dainty. Like the steel was breaking, tips were breaking, or there was a ring loop which I wasn't a fan of. So there were times in my career where we forward deployed and our force protection, i.e. firearms, didn't necessarily come with us right away. So there were times where I was in foreign countries and all I had was a folding blade, like a Spyderco or something of that nature. But at that time, I didn't really know how to use it for other than cutting rope. Definitely not for at the level I'm at now in terms of personal protection. So over the years and over life experiences, there were times presented where I questioned, why am I carrying this piece of kit and do I know how to use it? So that's what helped kind of shape the design behind this product. With confidence, this is a product that if I'm so fortunate to put into the hands of special operations soldiers in Canada, knowing that this is created 100% Canadian, and it would be into the hands of the Canadian soldiers, law enforcement even, who, if they ever have to use this or ever needed it as a secondary tool or a tertiary tool, I would have the confidence that it's going to perform the way that it was meant and designed to. So, proud to have developed this, proud to have created this, and this is something that I truly believe, as a Canadian, provided for Canadians, just makes it just a little bit more special. You can find this blade on the Direct Action website. The blades will be available. The updated versions, as the steel may change in the future, will be updated as well. The quality will remain extremely high, and the product lines will stay as updated as possible on the DA website.